Hello learners, so we have come to the 51st lecture for the course on International Investment Law and the Environment, and in this lecture we will be looking at the principle of good faith. So that is also a doctrine that is frequently invoked by the arbitral tribunal while reviewing the actions of the host state, especially when the host state had taken a regulatory measure that is for the purpose of protecting the environment. So when the regulatory measure of the host state gets challenged, basically the good faith of the state gets challenged, right? So therefore the tribunals, in many cases, if you look at the arbitral awards, they would come out and then they would say that whether the measure was taken in good faith or was there a malified intention behind this measure, so that the measure is a disguised restriction. So all of this essentially boils down to the fact that the host state's good faith is reviewed by the arbitral tribunal. The principle of good faith is a core principle of international law, and as a core principle this has been invoked in many arbitral tribunals. But how is the principle applied? So how would we know whether how is the arbitral tribunal coming to a decision whether the host state has acted in good faith or not? So there is no objective criteria for or there's no uniform or a standard method of looking at whether the host state had acted in good faith or not. But especially in the context of fair and equitable treatment provision, if an arbitral tribunal had to interpret FET provision, it always applies this particular principle of good faith and then accordingly takes a decision. So at least for interpreting FET provision, we do see this principle is invoked. So then if there is no objective criteria or no standard test to find out if the host state had enacted a measure in good faith, then how can this be tested? In that context, we do see Burke, White and Staten, they have come out with a research wherein they stated that essentially two things are tested whenever an arbitral tribunal had to look at the good faith of the host state. The first is the tribunal will look at whether the state had acted honestly and fairly. So whether the state was honest and fair in all its dealings, so that would be the first one. And then whether there was rational basis for the actions of the host state. So these two things are essential for looking at whether the state had acted in good faith. This is what the scholars are saying. Burke, White and Staten particularly is saying this. If we look at the Harvard research in international law, so there also we could see some sort of a clarification given as to what is considered to be a good faith conduct on the part of the state. So this Harvard research states that if the state had promised certain things in a treaty, then it would be considered that the state had engaged in good faith if the state had performed the obligation that it had undertaken under the treaty in letter as well as in spirit. That has to be done, only then the state would be considered to have fulfilled its obligation in good faith. And also the Harvard research states that the state should perform all the promises that it had made in the treaty without any evasion, without giving any reasons, and to the best of its ability it should perform the promise. Then in that case, the Harvard research concludes that the state has acted in good faith. So there are many there are many versions with regard to how to measure if the state has acted in good faith or not. So we clearly see that somewhere the state should have done something, then the arbitral tribunal would say, okay, so that means the state had acted in good faith. What is that state should have done something? Essentially that boils down to the question of the state undertaking a weighing and balancing approach. I mean, in the 5th week, we discussed about weighing and balance approach in the context of how an arbitral tribunal can review a regulatory measure in order to decide if it's a legitimate regulatory measure or if it is an expropriatory measure. And one of the approaches we did see was weighing and balancing. And even I had argued that this seems to be the best approach compared to police powers and sole effect doctrine, because it considers the interest of all stakeholder, host state as well as the investor, right. So, this is something we had already discussed. Now, in the context of the principle of good faith, the weighing and balancing approach should be done by the state itself. Please note, I am not talking about weighing and balancing approach that is done by the arbitral tribunals. So, as per the principle of good faith, now there are competing interests, right. The investor wants not too many environmental restriction, but then the state, because of its duty owed to the citizen, it had to actively take some measures that protects the environment. So, there may be conflict of interest. So, the principle of good faith states that whenever there is conflict of interest, the state should have undertaken a weighing and balancing approach. Then, after undertaking the weighing and balancing approach, it should arrive at a decision. So, that is what is being talked as in the context of the principle of good faith. So, even when a tribunal is looking at reviewing the regulatory measure, the tribunal is not going to undertake the weighing and balancing approach and then take a decision. No, that is not the task of the tribunal. What the tribunal would do is, the tribunal will merely look at whether the state had undertaken the weighing and balancing approach and then arrived at a determinations, and then the tribunal would say that the state had acted in good faith, and then this is how the principle of good faith gets applied. The tribunal will not undertake the weighing and balancing approach, but it will look at whether the host state has done so. Please note, even in the last video we discussed that the tribunal is not a superior regulator, right. Some sort of deference should be given to the decisions taken by the regulatory bodies, and we did discuss about proportionality, margin of appreciation and all of that. So, tribunal is not a superior regulator. It will look whether the host state or the regulatory bodies of the host state had undertaken the weighing and balancing approach. Okay, so even when it looks at or reviews the actions of the host state, some sort of degree of deference should be given. So, some scholars even say that if you apply principle of good faith, then what you are looking at is whether the state had done the weighing and balancing approach. If if the tribunal is convinced that it has done so, then a greater degree of deference is given to the decision of the host state, and I mean, some say that it is even compared to the doctrine of margin of appreciation, the degree of deference that is given while reviewing the regulatory measure by invoking principle of good faith is much higher. That is what some say. So, anyway, so the tribunal looks at whether the state's actions were reasonable, and how does the tribunal conclude whether it was reasonable. So, here also we could refer to the work of Burke-White and Staten. So, they particularly state that there should be a rational basis for the state's action. So, that is what is mentioned. The tribunal will also look whether there was a rational basis for the state's action. So, how do you know there was a rational basis? That means the state should have provided some reasons and justification for why it is enacting that regulatory measure. So, that is where the rational basis comes into the picture, but it is not very new or unique to ISTS. The rational basis test is also pretty common in the context of US courts as well. So, US courts also will look at whether there is a rational basis, where there are reasons provided. So, this is something that the state would look at, the tribunal would look at if the state had provided sufficient justification and reasons for enacting that particular measure. Then the tribunal would say that the state had taken the measure in good faith, right. So, essentially, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, when a regulatory measure gets challenged, it is the good faith of the state that gets challenged, and we've seen many arbitral tribunals applying or invoking the principle of good faith as well. So, in the next video, we will look at some of the investment disputes and how the principle of good faith was invoked in the context of those disputes. So, that's something we'll discuss in the next video. Thank you.